I'd love to welcome you to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom podcast, a place for ambitious individuals to capture proud moments on who they've become. It's a discussion that finds insights, the highs and the lows on where they have been at stages in their life. A safe space to share and openly talk about their journey. So if you're on a journey yourself and you're wanting to stretch, go further and farther than you've ever thought was possible, mastering your life is something that will connect you with your identity. I'm excited to be welcoming some very interesting guests to add value to your journey. For more information and to stay in the loop on what Master Your Life is all about and gain more value, head over to www.master-your-life.co.uk. Subscribe to my newsletter and stay in the loop. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I am your host, Luke Beastall, and I have a very powerful guest joining us today. His name is Hayden, and he is somebody that actually, I guess, reached out to me on social media. Gosh, it must have been maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. And at the time, he was a wrestler and he knew one of the clients that I worked with. And then we stayed in touch. We had a little bit of banter, especially because, we both now got short hair. I don't know whether you can see this, but at the time we both had long hair and we was talking about cutting our hair and stuff, which was quite funny. And then, we've just always had that respect for each other ever since. And he's recently actually took a very big leap, which we're going to delve into in this episode, becoming a personal trainer. It's his full-time job. So he's actually stepped away from what most people, love is a bit of safety, financial security. And he's leapt into the world of unknown in the self-employed route. So we're really going to kind of unfold that, unpack it, see where he was, see where he is today. But just to give you a bit of context on his journey, he came into acting. He went to drama school for 3 years. Something kind of happened there and it didn't necessarily work out, which unfortunately not everything works out as the way we'd like it to be. And then he went on and he's done every job under the sun, which we will talk about. And now here he is running his own successful business, and I'm excited to welcome him on. So enough of me talking. Welcome to the podcast, Hayden.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. Nice introduction there you got.
I tried my best. I rolled it off my tongue. So I'll just hit it with this. Was there anything from that you want to elaborate on or I missed out? 'Cause I know there's a lot of your story, but just to give it a bit of like a highlight.
I would say you're pretty much spot on there, mate, with everything you covered. That is the journey I've taken where I am currently at with, being a full-time personal trainer, essentially.
Yeah, cool. I mean, just to kind of kick this off, because I think this is going to be really good. How long have you been running your own business now?
Since January 8th of this year.
Amazing. And you guys listening in, if you can relate to this, where you have, gone from an employed position to self-employed, you'll understand that the first 1 to 2 years in business is where it's very challenging. I mean, you'll probably know as well, Hayden, the statistics in the fitness industry and coaching, particularly personal training, online coaching, and the dropout rate is quite frightening in the first 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, very high percentage of people don't make it past the first year, it seems.
Well, here you are, you're thriving, you're doing really well. So just to give the audience a bit of context about this new endeavor, this new position that you're in, how have you been finding it so far in the past 10 to 11 months?
Ooh, a roller coaster of emotions, I would say. Ups and downs, like I imagine any kind of self-employed venture is. There's days when you're like, this is the greatest decision I ever made. And then there's other days where you're like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? Because it is really hard, and it's a very solitary profession in a way, because you're trying to do it all yourself. You know, you don't have any colleagues and stuff, or you might see at work if you go to the gym and things like that, but it is very much a one-man thing, and the people around you don't necessarily know much about it or understand what you're doing, so it can feel a bit like you're on your own a lot of the time. So it's great, but it's difficult and has its challenges for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, and I'm kind of nodding my head on this side because, you know, it's something I'm quite open about in business, and being in it quite some time now is tough. You're right. It can be quite lonely, you know, and for people to understand, I guess, the change, the shift, it can be, like you say, very difficult and hard at times. So when you said it's been really hard, what do you feel has been the hardest part of being self-employed at the moment?
I think with my particular like profession that I'm pursuing, I don't know what it's like for other businesses because I have no experience, but for fitness especially, obviously most people who start to get into personal training and you start off working in a gym and you think, oh, there's like the gym that I'm at is like there's 4,500 members, and you think, great, oh, it's going to be so easy to pick up clients, so easy to find people. There's all those people there, and you realize that it's actually not like that at all, and not a lot happens if you just sit around and don't do anything. People aren't just coming up to you and wanting to train with you. It doesn't really happen like that, or not from my experience anyway. So I think what I've struggled with most, although I didn't go into it with that mindset, I was very aware of that it is a very difficult industry. But I think it's just getting a grasp of all the things that I used to think were, I don't know, sleazy or whatever, like sales. Like if you'd have said to me 5 years ago that I'd be in sales, I'd have been like, no, I'm not a salesman. I can't do that. That's not. And I realize now that pretty much the majority of what I do is sales and marketing and a bit of coaching. But the majority of my time is spent doing those things. So it's been a big learning curve trying to learn all these different things: the sales, the lead generation, the marketing, how to promote yourself, you know, who mentors to go to. And there's just a lot of stuff you've got to learn. And like I say, there's no step-by-step on, oh, this is how you become a personal trainer. It's figuring it out yourself. And that, I think, is the hardest part. And no one in my family has their own business. Other than you, I didn't know anyone who was a business owner. So I had no one to speak to who could kind of guide me. It's just not anything that I've ever really come across. So that's been the hardest thing, I think.
Oh, right. Interesting. I didn't realize that. So obviously I appreciate, mate, that, you know, you kind of had these back and forth conversations, but I absolutely agree and obviously relate. And I'm sure, again, people listening will relate to the point of businesses. Most businesses are heavily focused on, it has to be around sales and marketing. Obviously, like what you said, sleaziness, you know, there is people out there doing that, obviously. But ultimately, you know, if you are a business and obviously you're giving back to people, you're giving back to yourself, you're helping them transform their lives, inevitably, you know, you've got to be offering your services. You've got to be letting people know that, hey, I'm available. You know, I can help you. I can guide you. So with that being said, obviously with the whole personal training route, I'd love to know now, what was that, I guess, deep burning desire inside of you? Because remember, you've just said that nobody you know, other than myself, had run a business. So I'd love to know what was inside you that was like, I want to run my own business.
I think from a very, very young age, I always knew, I don't know why, I just always knew I never wanted to do the traditional path. Now, it kind of started with the acting. I'm going to be an actor. And then it was, I'm going to be a wrestler. And it was never just sort of, I'm going to go get a job as a teacher and work there for 40 years and retire and get my pension. It was never my goal. And everybody in my family has done relatively well, like successfully. They've all got great jobs. They all earn good money and they've made a good success for themselves. But I never went down the path that any of those did. Even though they tried to steer me down that path and, you know, tried to guide me that way, I was always very resistant to it. So I guess from a very young age, I've been always very much, I do what I want to do, not what someone thinks I should do. And I don't know where that came from. It's just how I felt. So I always liked the idea of no one telling me what to do. That it's the success or failure is down to me and nobody else. And if I fall on my ass and I end up broke and with no money, it's my fault. And at least I gave it a go. And it's not. People always talk about having a secure job and a salary being security, but I don't really see that as security. I kind of see it as the opposite in some ways. And I was very much just like, I want to be in charge of my life, not someone telling me when I can take my break, what days I have to work. It's like, no, I do what I want. And yeah, it's hard, but I love that. I love that freedom. But where it came from and why I decided, because I never wanted to be a business owner before. I never wanted to be a personal trainer and have my own fitness, business. It wasn't ever something I ever considered. So what happened in the last year? I don't know. I don't know what it was that suddenly steered me on this path, but I guess here I am.
There was some real big gold there, Hayden. So thanks for sharing that. I think the fact that you'd said about the traditional path, that you want to be able to, I guess, be the owner of your life, the autonomy to be, okay, I can take this week off. I can have this time off when I want. I'm not, like you say, being told what I should be doing, what I need to be doing. Let's be honest, right? Nobody, even if they say that, yeah, but I'm happy my 9 till 5 and whatever, but nobody really does like being told what to do, really, anyway. Nobody wants that. So I'd love to know, though, was there any, if you can recall any moment in your childhood or throughout your life, Aidan, where there was any influence in this business journey of yours? So did you look up to anybody? Was there any role models out there where you're like, I want to be like that person that's a successful business owner? Or
that's a good question, because there wasn't anyone in my immediate life. Like I said, I didn't know any business owners. I'd never, up until probably this year, I'd never spoken to anybody who I knew earned over like £100,000 a year or something like that, which to me at the time, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I'd never met anyone like that. So I didn't have anybody in my life who could kind of guide me in business. So I think mentors wise, I look back on my life and I started training when I was 18 or 19 in the gym. I was very overweight as a kid and I wanted to change my life. And then when I was about 21, 22, I think, I got very much into the self-improvement world and the self-help sort of thing. And back then it was a lot of blogs. Like YouTube was going, but blogs were a big thing back there. And there was a blog I used to read all the time and it was called boldanddetermined.com. It's unfortunately no longer around. I look back on it now and it was very kind of hyper masculine and it was very sort of a lot of stuff I don't necessarily agree with. But as a man who grew up without a father figure, it kind of gave me something to work towards and made me think like, actually, there is more to life. There is a lot that can be achieved if you put in the work and, you focus on things. So I guess I ended up going down that route. And then from then on, I kind of got obsessed with this self-improvement and this need to do better and need to, really make something of myself. And I think because I grew up with very little, that I was very much like, I need to make stuff happen for my mom and stuff like that. I can't remember the question you asked me. I've gone off on that tangent, like we were saying.
No. This is good. This is really good what you've shared, though, Hayden. The question was just, was there any sort of role model or influence and person that you looked up to? Yeah.
Yeah. So no one in person, but my role models were kind of people online, which sounds a bit weird, but I learned from these people that although I didn't know them, although I couldn't speak to them directly, I guess they had a big influence on who I became as a man and what my values and morals have become.
No, that's really, really good. And I think I just wanted to rewind a little bit as well, where you'd said about, what was life like when you was growing up. Obviously, I can tell your mum's been a big influence in your life. I even saw her when you first started out in your training journey, training your mum and stuff like that, which was cool to see. I know that myself. I've trained my mum and dad stuff. Inevitably, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But so when you say about, you've done a lot of self-improvement, you've had this self-help online, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that can relate to that as well, because like I say, the accessibility now and the information that's out there is fantastic. It's everywhere. We can learn a lot really for free, right? So what's the biggest thing that, because you talk about that shift in identity and it helped you become this person, this man that you wanted to become. What was the biggest thing you learned, if you can remember just one thing, by, watching these people online, these mentors, these guides, that you was like, not like you want to be like them, but helped you become this better man?
I think the biggest thing I probably learned was that most of the limitations you put on yourself are self-imposed limitations. Because I was reading and watching people who had gotten out of the 9 to 5, who also had no one in their life who was in business, and they had found a way to carve their own path, and they were now writing about it and making money, writing from a laptop in Thailand, which was, back in like 2011. Like, not everyone was talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So this stuff was going on back then, like when that sort of stuff was big. And I thought, wow, maybe I can do something like that. And it took me a long time. It took me, like, considering how long I've been studying that stuff, it took me a long time to really take action on it. I guess I got a bit obsessed with the sort of just, which I think a lot of people do. You read and read and read, you study and study, you take in all this information, but you never do anything with it. And it's like, you tell people what to do, and you're like, oh, I learned this, maybe you should try this, but you're not even doing it in your own life. And it's like, well, there comes a time where you actually have to take the step and do it. So I think for me, it was just breaking that limiting belief factor, and that it is possible to create the life you want if you're prepared to do the work that's required and take some risks and put a bit of extra time in outside of your 9 to 5 and things like that. So I guess that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. I like that. Heavily on the mindset kind of thing, because obviously we know how powerful our mind can be. Little bit like what you said there, the 9 till 5, and then it could be the 5 till 9 shift that you're putting in on the hustle that you're looking to build. So I'd love to know now, because I did like the fact that you said you consumed a lot of information, you kept taking it in, but maybe it overwhelmed you, maybe it caused that inaction, there was no implementation going on. How long would you say it had taken you to finally take that big leap and take that risk?
Well, it's difficult to say, because I always took risks. I never took a risk to go self-employed, because it was never my goal previously. But I always took risks. Like I said, like when I was young, like one of my brothers is in the army. He's a captain in the army. He's done very, very well for himself. And I was very much like, I'm going to go in the army too. Realized completely not for me. I'm glad I didn't do it. And then I just got into acting, and I was like, right, I want to be an actor. And everybody around me was telling me, don't be an actor. There's no money in it. You'll never make it. You're not going to do it. And I was like, no. I'm going to be an actor. I was like, I'm going to be successful. And my goal was to get into drama school. And I don't know if you know anything about drama schools, but they're very, very notoriously difficult to get into. They accept a very tiny percent of the people who apply.
Okay.
It took me 4 years of auditioning to get in. I eventually got in. And that was 24. I was 24 years old when I got in. So that was a risk then. I was working in Costa Coffee. I was doing little jobs here and there in offices and things like that. I had no steady career path that I was pursuing. I was like, right, I've gone all in on this. I ain't got a backup plan. So that was a risk in itself. So I took risks pretty early on. And then the same with when I got into pro wrestling. Like when I decided I don't want to be an actor, I'm not interested in the industry, I started pursuing pro wrestling. Again, I had no backup plan. I was just like, I know I can do this. I believe I can do this. I'm going to go for it. Did really well pretty quickly. But then again, something just happened, and I was like, it's not what I want to do. It's not the thing. It's not what I want to carry on doing. So I've took risks forever, but the self-employed risk and to quit the 9 to 5 only happened like I decided in fact, I wrote myself a note on January 2023. And I said, by January 2024, I will be completely self-employed.
Nice.
That's what I achieved somehow. I just wrote myself a note, and I was like, I looked back on it, I was like, oh, I actually did it.
Oh, brilliant, mate. No, there's a quote that I love to kind of like fling about to people, and it's like, what you write, you invite. And it's just,
I like that. It's good.
And it's just same thing for me. It's so true. So no, massive achievement, by the way. I don't think it's just suddenly happened. It's you. The thing is, as well, is where, I know this is a little bit off tangent here. When was our meetup at Costa? when we were chatting, weren't we? You was obviously there with your pen and notepad on the personal training because we was talking about it, weren't we?
So that was
that 2023 or it was?
Yeah, it was at the end because I was thinking about that before I came on here today. I think it was December 2023, just before I started. I think I was just about to go into it, and I said I wanted to like meet up with you and just sort of pick your brain and stuff. So that's coming up on a year ago.
Mad. Yeah, so it just shows, the growth and everything within a year. I think just even hearing you talk about, the 4 years of getting into drama school and only being such a small percentage of being accepted, like, again, that's evidence right there that when your back's against the wall and the numbers and there's all those naysayers and all those people going, you're going to waste your time, your energy, you managed to still have that breakthrough. Like, there was an acceptance there. But I guess as well, that's helped you in your character building, right? I mean, 4 years whilst being in a position of like Costa's and office jobs, like you still managed to make things work. And I think this is just something I'm picking out here for people to understand who's listening in, is that you was pursuing your dream, and that your dream, you had no idea if you was going to achieve it. You was going after it, you was chasing, you was giving it your 4 years, not 2 weeks, right? What people would probably be, it's not an instant thing. It's a long time. It's investment. It's traveling, and then you had to do something that probably you didn't want to do, such as these temporary jobs and stuff, just to bridge the gap to help financially.
Yeah, that was a hard time, mate. Because like I moved out my house from like I live with my mom, but I moved out when I was 19,
right?
And I think it was 19, and I moved to Glasgow on my own. My brother had a flat there, but because he was in the army, the flat was empty. So I said, you can go live in my flat and I'll rent it to you. So I packed up all my stuff, went to Glasgow, middle of the winter, no money, absolutely freezing cold. I can still remember how cold it was. I had to sleep in all of my clothes. I had to sleep in a dressing gown with a blanket over me now because I couldn't afford to have the heating on. And I worked at Costa Coffee to just keep me going while I was doing acting classes.
Yeah.
And I had to get up at 4 a.m. to be there for 5:30 a.m. I had to walk in the cold. It was about 2-3 miles in the morning. Absolutely bitter cold, dark, snow. And I remember working there, and I had so many opportunities because I've always been pretty good at talking to people, and people tend to, like me when I talk to them because I take a genuine interest in people. And there was this business guy who used to come in every day, and he owned a solar power company. And he used to tell me all the time, he used to be like, you should come work for me. He's like, my nephew, he earns about $3,000 a week working for me. And I'm like, what do you have, $3,000 a week? Like selling solar power. And he's like, yeah, you should come work for me. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I've got this goal I'm going for. And if I take that, then that's going to distract me from my main goal, if you will, because it'll be a proper career. And I was just like, no. So yeah, for years and years and years, I did shit jobs. I hated it. I remember thinking like I've been a waiter for more years than I care to admit. And I remember doing it, and you'd be serving these rich people and they'd look down upon you and they'd treat you bad. And I'd be like, in my head, I'm just thinking, yeah, but one day I'm going to be an actor. One day I'm going to be successful and this will all be better. And although I never became a professional actor, I didn't become a Hollywood star. All of that taught me so much. And I'm like, if I can go through that, this is a cakewalk. I can go for anything. This is nothing. So that's what it's taught me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing you talk about that experience, that memory of you packing your bags to Glasgow, struggling to pay for rent, being absolutely freezing, and then walking. I mean, most people in today's society and generation would break, they probably wouldn't push through that. And, I'm commending and respecting that you've been able to push through. And do you know what? The power in saying no as well. The fact that someone's there dangling a shiny object of what most people would just go for, like, oh, money, and you still wanted to pursue something that you was like, I'm not giving up on this. I've given a lot into this. I've sacrificed a lot, and I'm still going for it. So even in that 4-year period, just going through all those roller coaster of emotions, what did you learn most about yourself, and what you learned? How has that been ingrained in you into your career path today?
I learned is resilience. And I think the main thing I learned from all of that actually was, because when I was young, I said I would never, ever quit acting. I said, this is it. This is it for me. It's the only goal I'm ever going to have. And when I was at drama school, the teachers used to say to me, well, maybe one day you'll change your mind. Maybe you don't want to be an actor anymore. Maybe you want to be a writer, director. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. I'm going to be an actor. I was that sure about it. And then all of a sudden, when COVID hit and stuff, it started to become real and a job. And I was going for auditions and stuff. And I was like, I actually don't like this. And it doesn't make me happy. And it took me a long time to admit that it wasn't what I wanted to do, because I'd spent literally 10 years of my life trying to pursue this crazy goal that people didn't believe I was going to achieve anyway. So I felt like if I quit, I've proven everybody right who didn't believe in me, who said that, because people did tell me, people close to me, family members told me, you ain't going to make it. There's nothing. You've got no personality. You're a loser. You ain't going to do anything.
Wow.
Stuff that stayed with me for a long time.
Of course.
So I think the biggest thing I learned was sometimes your goals and your dreams and what you think you want can change. And just because it's changed doesn't mean you failed, or it doesn't mean that it changed for a bad reason. You actually changed because maybe you changed as a person and realized actually that's not what you want anymore. And the thing that I've now gone to gives me so much more happiness and fulfillment than all the things I was chasing before. So sometimes I guess it's okay for your path to change, and just because it's a dream of yours doesn't mean that sometimes it's not okay to just let it go if you need to let it go, I
was just going to say, actually, when you said the word resilience, I thought I could have easily picked that out based on what you'd shared anyway. I thought, yeah, of course you're going to gain resilience from not giving up. It's continuing to show up even when you don't want to, Yeah. But I think just what you shared there, I just want the guys obviously listening to this as well, just kind of check in with that a minute. And the fact that you've spoken about that, even though you had so many external people saying you're wasting your time, you're not going to make it. But the thing is, you've still taken something away from it. You've accepted, you've let go, your path's changed. And as a result of all of that, you're happier and you're more fulfilled, and you're in something that you're super passionate about and you love. And I think that's what I want to share. Obviously, just saying this back to you because it's really powerful stuff. But even to the audience, is that our paths are going to change. You're not going to be just one-dimensional. Maybe some people are one-dimensional. That's okay if that's the way you want to go. That's the way you want to go. But for you, it's changed. That's okay. You're happy with it, and you're now in this completely new venture, and you're thriving. So I think that's a really good thing. And obviously, you've had your highs and lows in life, in business. Many highs and lows. I know. So I'd like to go back a little bit, because obviously I know you'd spoken about you as a chubby kid, and you got into fitness a little bit later. Yeah. What was childhood like, Hayden?
So I guess I always kind of grew up quite quickly, because I'm one of 9. I've got like 5 brothers and 4 sisters, or one or the other way around.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I don't see them all. So it sounds a big family, but I don't see a lot of them, and they're sort of half brothers and sisters. But I grew up with 2 brothers and 1 sister, and they were all quite a bit older than me. So I was always around people who were older. So I guess I kind of aged before my time. And as a kid, I was thinking things that other kids my age were not necessarily thinking, because of what I'd been exposed to just by the people I was around. So at school, I was very much when I was about 12, 13, very normal skinny kid, kind of just looked like any normal kid. And then when I got to about 14, 15, I don't really know what happened. And I do think about this a lot. I think, what was the thing that triggered it? And all of a sudden, I just started gaining weight rapidly, really quickly, and started becoming like a bit of a binge eater. And I was just eating all the time, and I couldn't control how much I was eating. Gained a lot of weight. And I went from being a teenager who would get girlfriends to being a teenager who no one was interested in anymore. And, my confidence was just gone. And I was a kid who would spend 12, 13 hours a day playing World of Warcraft and RuneScape. That was my childhood. I did a bit of free running and parkour. I was always quite athletic, even though I was quite big. I could do backflips and all that sort of stuff. I could do that sort of stuff, but I wasn't sporty. I didn't fit in well with people at school. I always felt like a bit of an outsider. I wasn't popular. I wasn't a nerd. I was just sort of like in between. I kind of got on with everybody, but yeah. So school life was kind of, I didn't really like school. Never went without love in my family. My mum's been the most incredible mum, absolutely incredible. Like I've been raised by only my mum. I've never known my dad. He left when I was 3. So life was hard, but it never felt like it. Like I look back and I think like we had like no money. Like my mum had 4 kids and we had no money, but I still had a PlayStation 2 before all of my friends. And I look back now and I think my mum got herself in such a difficult financial position to buy me a PS2 just so I felt like I wasn't missing out on that. And I look back and think now, God, if I knew what I knew now, I would never have let her do that. But as a kid, you're like, oh, PS2, great.
Sure.
So childhood was good. I never had a bad childhood or anything like that. It's just we struggled a lot. So there was always a lot of struggle. We never had money. Never had money. So I think that's where the drive for, I don't want my family to go through what I had to go through or see my mum go through. So I was like, right, I'm going to make some money in this life and enjoy life as it should be, as fulfilling as possible, I guess. So I know that was long-winded, but
not really. I mean, it's good. It's good hearing your points. And the thing is I know there's still a lot more to that. I mean, obviously you're gaming. You put on the weight, you'd gone from one side to the other. You didn't really enjoy school. These are all very honest things. I mean, like I said, everybody's life's journey is very, very different. I mean, it's good to hear that you've been obviously, you've had a good childhood, you've been brought up well, obviously you've got a big family, and you've managed to, like you say, have a lot of happiness, even though there has been tough times. When you say obviously your mum had done everything she possibly could to give you these things, such as a PS2. I think that's obviously, again, a very humbling thing for you. It's the respect's there. It's not just like, oh, here we go, you can have what you want when you want kind of thing. So obviously you've had to learn those skills as growing up. So if you could, I know this is a little bit of I'd say a bit of a deep question. I know this is on the podcast, but I think it's really good just based on what you've shared here. If there's something that you could say to your mum when, and we're fast forwarding here in time, let's say that the business is going from strength to strength. It's tripled, whatever. You've gone past the 6 figures where you said you didn't know anybody in your life that had achieved 6 figures. And you was able to give back to your mum in not just the money aspect, but just whatever it is that you wanted to do. What would you be saying to her if you was to achieve what you truly want to achieve?
I've said to my mum so many times in life, I promise you that one day things will not be like this, and one day you'll never have to worry about money again. And nice. I know that's going to happen, and that's what I will say to her. I'll say, look, I told you I promised. Maybe it took a bit longer than I expected to get there, but I got there, and you never have to worry about money again. So that is honestly the driving force behind everything I do, is that thought. Always. I don't really care. I don't even care about money for me. I never have cared about money for me. I'm not interested in flashy things. I'd like a nice car, but it's always been about, make sure mum's happy and never has to struggle again. So I think that's what I'd tell her.
That's really good, mate. Honestly, gives us a bit of goosebumps, kind of thing. I love hearing stuff like that, because it's not always about the materialistic, is it? It's about the experiences. It's about giving back to your closest people to you, which I know your mum has been monumental in shaping your life. So just with that, obviously you said people within your family obviously struggle to understand what you're doing, just out of curiosity more than anything, because obviously I've got family members that have seen me go through this business journey. What does your mum think of you being in, the personal training industry?
Oh, she thinks it's brilliant, because I still train my mum when I get the time now. I'll still do some sessions with her and things like that. But she thinks it's brilliant because she can see how happy I am. Oh. And that's the thing, with my mum, she doesn't care if I become rich or successful. She just wants me to be happy. And she sees that I'm happy. So my mum's been supportive for everything. She was my biggest believer when I wanted to be an actor. She was my biggest believer when I wanted to be a wrestler. She would come to every single show. She'd be in the front row. watching me, and she's always been the biggest supporter, and it's no different. Whatever I wanted to be, she would support me, and that's exactly how she is now. I think sometimes it makes her sad when she sees that I'm struggling and things get difficult, and you wish you could help because you care about someone. But yeah, I've never lacked from any kind of support from my mum, so I'm very fortunate about that, you know.
Yeah, and how important has your mum's support been through this journey of your life?
Oh, hugely. Without my mum, I wouldn't be where I am. I genuinely wouldn't. She's my biggest inspiration. You were talking about role models earlier, and like I know
Yeah,
it's a bit different because we were talking about business and things like that.
yeah,
But I
yeah, yeah.
always look at it and think like, you know, what would my mum do? And I think it's made me become the person I am with how I treat people, my manners, how polite I am, all these sorts of things. It's all come from her. So obviously having that support and that she is happy with what I'm doing and believes in me is huge, because I would never want to do anything where she felt ashamed. Like if she was like, "Oh, I can't believe my son's doing that," you know. So it's nice that I haven't disappointed her, I guess.
Oh no, definitely not. And bigging up your mum right now, Hayden. Because she raised 4 kids as well. I guess, was it on her own?
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right, mate. Yeah, mate. Honestly, she's an absolute titan of a woman. Genuinely is. She's 77 years old, and people see her in the gym, and they're like,
wow,
"You look like you're in your 50s," and she's training 3 times a week with
boom,
weights,
mad.
and she's just kicking ass. She's an awesome woman. She really is.
Yeah, no, that's inspirational. There's not many 7-year-old, male or female, that can probably do what your mum's doing. So
No,
there you go. That must drive you so much, man.
no, it does. It really does.
Brilliant. No, this is so good, because I think when you talk about obviously personal side, obviously it drives the professional side. Obviously you can't do the professional first, because it kind of obviously affects you personally if you're just all in on professional side, which obviously we was talking a little bit about this in a fashion before we jumped on, about where you had said, which I think is going to be good to kind of tap into now, especially running your own business, where, it's hard to kind of have those boundaries. It's hard to switch off. You operate in 10 different jobs at once. And sometimes you just want to be able to go, I'm off, see you later, give me a break, I'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock kind of thing. So I just looked to ask you the question, what has been, I guess, the toughest or the hardest thing from the shift, from the employed mindset or the employment life to becoming self-employed?
I think it's just the fact of being that one-man band, and that you wear multiple hats. You're not just a personal trainer. You're not just an online coach or whatever. You are a business owner, first and foremost. And then you are a salesman, you're a marketer, you're a copywriter, you're all these different things. It's like when everybody else is just kind of, they have one job role. You go to work, you know your job role, maybe you're an admin assistant, you know that you've got a couple of tasks you got to do. That's your job role. It's like you're trying to juggle a million different things, and half of them you haven't even got a clue if you're doing it right anyway. And then you're spending so much time doing stuff, making content, or you're doing sales things and stuff, and you're like, oh, I hope this actually pays off, because I have no idea if it's actually going to do anything. And you make an Instagram post that you think is brilliant, and it just bombs, and no one watches it, and no one comments, and it's just like, it can be stressful. So I think the hardest thing is just not allowing yourself to become overwhelmed, and trying to find that boundary of just knowing when to switch off and set some time aside to be like, you know what, although I am running my own business essentially, I do have a life as well, and I have to find that time to have a life, because it's very easy to come home at night and I'm sat in bed with Rosie, we're meant to be watching TV, and I'm on my phone.
Right.
And it's like, you're on your phone too much. And I'm like, oh, yep, sorry. I'll put it away. It's very easy to get in that mind. When you're employed, you kind of switch off. When you're done with your job, you don't think about it. With this, I'm always thinking about it. Even if I'm not like talking to clients or whatever, I'm thinking about, oh yeah, I could do this for a post tomorrow. I've got to get up and I've got to write this script. And
Sure.
that. You never really switch off. And I think that's the biggest thing I've struggled with so far.
Right. Okay. Obviously, you just spoken about Rose there. Obviously, your girlfriend and stuff, where she said, get off your phone, all that kind of stuff. And I can relate. I've been in exactly the same place. That was the reason I got a business phone and a personal phone.
Yeah,
Because,
still need to do that.
Yeah, no, it was just that was because Abby used to be in my ear all the time, and I was the same. I was just like, but I want to make sure my clients are okay, I want to make sure that they're, but it was now that I've kind of done that, like that boundary, it really is a game changer. So there you go, mate. That's something there. But that was a little bit of a sidetrack on what you said. So you said about setting time aside. You do have a life, which you do. So who is Hayden outside of work, business, PT? What goes on in your life behind the scenes? What probably people don't know about?
So it's very strange because it literally changes upon year to year, like whatever I'm pursuing at the time. Like my life used to be took up by wrestling because it was my thing I was going for, but then it was also my biggest hobby as well. I just used to go home, watch wrestling, study wrestling tapes and things. Now I am sort of switched on all the time and I work a lot. Like I'm really trying because I'm still very much in the early days of getting my business going. I'm not in a hugely flourishing position yet where I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter if I stop doing this for a week, So my downtime is very much, I am still, I guess, that nerd who I was when I was a teenager. I still play PC games. I still play World of Warcraft, which I've been playing for like 17 years now, since I was a child. I spend a lot of time, most of my time is spent with Rosie because that's kind of what I value. Because my schedule and her schedule are very different, our time often doesn't align. So like when I get downtime, I'm like, right, it's either going to be spent with Rosie or it's going to be spent with my best friends. I'm very careful with who I spend my time with. I don't like to have a lot of friends. I only do things that I want to do because I believe if you're saying yes to one thing, then you're saying no to something else. So if I'm saying yes to spending time with Rosie, then I'm saying no to something else. And that's important to me. So we go to a lot of gigs, massive into heavy metal. Just go to a lot of festivals and things like that. Still go to wrestling shows where I can and just watch them as like a spectator.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's more like I'll be going to the gym. Even when I'm not at work, I'll still train. I try and train regularly. Music, gaming, watching films. That's pretty much me at the minute until the time comes when I can afford my BMW M6. Then I'll probably be out in my car every day. So things will change by then.
Aspirations, there you go. No, it's good to hear what obviously goes on beyond work, because obviously I said it at the beginning, didn't I, when I introduced the podcast, beyond the workplace. Who are you as a person? It's very important to not lose yourself just in your business. No. Because that's where obviously you've just openly said there, you're not where you want to be. So it means that work is a big priority at the moment. I know it as well. When you're trying to grow something, yes, there's more time being put in. People who say, "Oh, I want to work 4 hours a week," you're just like, "No, you're not." I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that. And even if they did work all these hours beforehand, they're probably balancing it out now by not working so much. So I do understand that sacrifice. But at the same time, obviously, we know as humans, our time is ticking by, and we can't recapture it. So I always like to know from the guest perspective what fun they have outside of work.
Yeah, because it is a very, very important thing. But like you say there, because time is ticking away, and I feel like people still do a lot of things that they don't necessarily want to do to please other people. Whereas I'm very much like, I don't go to nightclubs, I don't go to bars and stuff like that. I'll go to the occasional rock bar with Rosie, but if people ask me to do things and I don't want to do it, I'll say no. I won't give a reason. I'll just say, no, I don't want to, thank you. Thank you for the offer, but I'm okay. Because my time is too valuable. My time is too precious to be wasted.
Yeah, and just that, obviously talking about, obviously I know you spend quality time with Rosie, and how you've just said that any external sort of invitations that don't align with where you want to spend your time, you say no, which I think is really good as well. With you running your business, what's the support from Rosie been like as a partner with what you're trying to pursue?
See, I'm very lucky because she's been nothing but supportive, because I think she sees my vision, and although I'm not necessarily anywhere close to where I visualize I will be, she sees what I'm doing, and I think she admires the ambition, and she knows that I'm trying to do something. I've been very lucky with the kind of partners I've had in the past, and luckily, I've got Rosie now. But when I got with Rosie, I had nothing. I'd literally come back from Australia. I'd gone through every single penny of my savings. I was living on my sister's sofa. I was sleeping in her spare bed on a single bed. And I met Rosie on a night out, and she started dating me, even though she knew that I was living at my sister's. I had nothing. I was driving a Peugeot 107 with a big dent in the side. It wasn't the kind of car that I would normally drive. You know, it's not my kind of car, but it was the only car I had. She didn't care about any of that.
Wow,
she's always been
good.
super, super supportive. So she always gives me time. I've never heard her once say like, "Oh, you're working too much on this. Can you give me more?" Never. She's never said that, because she knows what I'm trying to do. And everything I do is directly going to benefit her as well. My goal is to do well enough for both of us. So if she doesn't want to, then she doesn't have to work. You know, if she wants to work, great. But if you don't want to work, you don't have to work, because I can take care of the family. And that's my goal. So yes. And I think anyone who has a partner, if they are not supportive of your goal, it's never going to last, because it's such a huge part of your life. And if they're trying to drag you away from the one thing you want, that ain't going to last very long. So I'm very lucky, but I chose well. So
you chose well. And like you say, I think just even saying there that, you know, Rosie had come into your life when you was very open of where you was, and it didn't phase her. You know, she saw through all of that. This is what I love hearing, because really it's not about what flashy stuff you've got. It's ultimately about you as a person, and that's the connection right there. And obviously I can tell that your relationship is very clear in terms of communication. But just for the audience that are out there, because look, I'll be honest, I hear this a lot in business, working with people. A lot of people don't start their business, Hayden, or go into what they really dream about because of their partner. You know, the fear of that conflict. You know, maybe they're not like what you just said, they're supportive, and maybe they've got it really good right now. They seem set to say, oh, I'm going to go from, say, a salary to I don't know what's going to come in. So just from your experience, because obviously you've kind of gone through this yourself, what would you say is the biggest thing that not just to look out for, but to get clear on in a relationship with a partner when running your own business?
I think you have to just be very clear about what both of you want, because me and Rosie have very, very different goals. Rosie is not interested in becoming a self-employed business owner, right? She works a 9 to 5, which doesn't necessarily want to do it for the rest of her life. But she has her hobbies. You know, she's in a band. She writes music. She's trying to get the band going, you know, really well. She's in a heavy metal band. So that's her sort of thing outside of work. I'm very much entrepreneurial. I want to go to the top. I want to do really well. I want to keep pushing. So we're very different. But she just gets it. And although she doesn't necessarily get everything I do, she just supports it. And I guess she trusts me. Like, if she believes I've made a decision and I'm like, right, this is what I'm going to do, I think she trusts me enough to know that I haven't just gone into this blindly. I've done a lot of research first. I've thought it all over. I'm like, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to make it happen like this. You know, I'm not taking stupid risks. Taking risks is great, but I do think they still have to be sort of calculated and to some degree. So yeah, I just think like anyone that anyone chooses, you just have to be on that same wavelength, and you have to talk to each other. And like you said, when people are with someone who is maybe stopping them from doing the thing they want to do, or they feel a bit trapped, I don't have any experience with it, but I'd very much be like, you know, there comes a time where you have to, if someone is holding you back, are they really the person for you? Because like for me, whatever Rosie said that she wanted to do, even if it meant, you know, we maybe wouldn't see each other a bit more or some, I'd be like, if that's what you want to do, then you must do it. You have to do it. So I don't really understand when people are, you know, trying to stop their partner from doing things. And if anyone tried, even if Rosie tried to stop me, I'd do it anyway. So,
love that.
You know.
No, it's really good. It's really, and it's nice to hear your side of it. And the thing as well is that it's a big part of your growth. Like you say, it's that support, and especially your partner, your husband, your wife, or even if you're single and you've got family support, is to have someone on your side, because You know, I mean, I'm not saying you have to, but it definitely helps, obviously, because again,
Hugely,
long term,
hugely.
isn't it? Long term, especially to
Yeah.
keep things going when times are getting tough. So, kind of looking at where you are now, then obviously 10, 11 months into this business, where do you see yourself in the next 12 months?
It's a hard question because your vision changes. So it's like what I think I want, maybe not what I want. I want to be, well, I will be a completely 100% online coach. I want to step away from the in-person coaching by then, even if not in the next few months, but by the next 12 months, I want to be completely online and be in a position where I can take time off whenever I want to take time off. I can no longer ever have to worry about financial struggles. I can have a good house. I can have a nice car. I can do all these things and be in a position where I work with clients who I love to work with, who know my worth and I know my worth, and I'm not afraid to ask for my worth, and they respect that, and they want to work with me because they know the level of results that I can produce. I want to produce exceptional results, so people think I have to work with him because there's no denying what he does. So I want to be a fantastic coach. And like, I think with like coaching, you're always learning with this sort of stuff. Like no matter what level you get to, there's always a million people who know little tricks and things that you don't. And I just want to keep learning, always keep learning from everybody I can, and just be in a really good place 12 months from now, I guess. Maybe a bit vague, I don't know. But
Well, like you say, your vision does change. You know, you're absolutely spot on with that. It's going to kind of go down a little bit of a different path. But I think just having that clarity on what it is that, you know, you want and where you want to be, I think obviously is the driver in your daily actions. If you've got that sort of, this is a bit of a pin on the map at the moment. Obviously, it could change. Yeah. And like you know, you've openly said as well, Hayden, throughout your life anyway, that the path that you've taken and what you probably thought was going to be your life, or this is my dream, it's changed and you've let go and moved on. So, you know, like you say, like what even you're saying to us now on the podcast, you know, 3 years from now, it could look completely different.
Well, exactly, because I'm sure you never thought when you were 18 that you were going to be one day doing what you do now. You know, if someone had said you're going to be a business coach and helping other people coach, you'd be like, nah, I won't. I'm going to be a football player.
You're absolutely bang on with that. But so look, mate, we are actually unfortunate. I say unfortunately because this has obviously been a fantastic open conversation, and you know, there's been things I've actually learned about you that obviously I know we've conversated in the background and stuff, and that I didn't know. So that's been really cool to get to know you on a deeper level. But there is a question that I love to kind of conclude, and if you have listened to any of the podcasts, you'll know, guys listening, if you've listened to others, you know I love asking this question. So, are you up for it, Aidan? You ready to answer it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, what does mastering your life mean to you?
That's a tough one. I suppose mastering your life means to me being the captain of your own ship and steering it the way you want it to go instead of the way the wind is wanting you to go. Go where you want to go. Be in control of your life. Do what you want, not what anybody else wants or what their expectations are of you, and just be happy and content with that, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think probably that. That's probably enough before I ramble too much and come up with some crap.
No. Keep going. I feel like there was something else going on in there, and you just stopped yourself.
I don't know. It's just master. Okay, to expand, mastering your life to me, I guess, is becoming the best you can possibly be in every endeavor of your life. Like, I don't want to just be the best coach. I want to be the best father, the best husband, the best son, the best friend. I want to have my physique in the best possible shape I can have it in. I want to excel in every single area of my life so that hopefully maybe I can inspire some others to do it as well, because I feel like so many people they have so much potential and never live up to any of it. And I would hate to die or get close to death and be like, oh man, has so much potential, that Hayden. He just never did it. He didn't go after anything he wanted, you know. I don't ever want to feel like that. I want to feel like, yeah, you know what? I had a good life. because it was on my terms. If that helps.
Massively helps. No regrets. I think this concludes this episode really well, because it was, clear to hear when you was talking earlier on about that you had always wanted to be the owner of your life, like you say, the captain of your ship, and not letting the wind take you. You kind of steering your own path, which is really powerful. And obviously it's showing in also your vision as well, what you've just spoken about. There's a lot of reassurance and I guess like confidence in what you said, which is really good. So no, that was a fantastic answer to a question. It's your answer as well. There's absolutely no right or wrong. So Hayden, if people are on this episode listening in, I really like this guy. I want to follow him. I want to see how his journey kind of turns out, see where the ship goes and stuff. Where can people find you?
So the main place is on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Hayden Thomas Coaching. I do have a YouTube channel, but I don't do much with it at the minute. So mainly Instagram is the place if you want to follow what I'm doing or get in contact or anything like that.
Plug your YouTube in, Hayden. Plug it in, buddy.
My YouTube is at Real Hayden Thomas.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Look, I just finally want to say it's been a powerful hour, and thank you so much for sharing what you shared, and it's been great having you on the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's been really fun. Thank you so much for having me on. I do appreciate it. It's been good.
No worries, man. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode. If you found this useful and it's provided value to you, if you don't mind, go onto my channel, tap follow, and keep in the loop for more podcast episodes like this. And if you want to go one step further, please leave us a positive review. It would mean the world to us, and it would help spread the message to many more people. And also, if you want to go that one step further again, tag us on socials, drop us a message. I will always respond. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.